Hey guys, it is btaylortv and welcome back to my channel. A lot of you guys wanted me to do a review on Naia's latest interview with Dear Future Wifey podcast, and shout out to him because he was able to really bring a different light to Naia and really show the world exactly what this woman went through and gave her so much grace, passion, and just a beautiful platform to tell her story. He got her makeup done for her and got her all dressed up because he wanted to show the world that she wasn't just this crazy lady that went crazy because her man cheated on her. He did it in such a respectable way where he got her makeup done and presented her in a light where people got to know Naia, other than just Derrick Jaxn, and who is Naia and how did Naia get here? Because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of women don't want to admit it, but a lot of women are Naia. They just suffer in silence. And to give her this platform and for her to speak about her testimony and taking accountability in a most beautiful, vulnerable way possible, I commend Dear Future Wifey podcast. So shout out to you. So, getting into this two-part series, because a lot of people just saw these clips and ran with it and reacted. And a lot of people wanted to say, well, she should have took accountability. She should have knew better. It's so easy to sit back and just tell somebody what they should have, could have, would have done, right? Like we all haven't made mistakes. Like we all haven't stayed too long into a situation. Like we all haven't talked to the wrong man when we know that he was showed us signs that we should have been exited out of that opportunity, exited out. And thank goodness that you were able to exit out of your situation and not been in a situation like Naia. But Naia is not talking to women like you. She's talking to the women who actually do stay and suffer in silence for years and years and years until they snap. Women like Naia usually don't get to tell their stories. And if they do tell their stories, they're either behind bars or in handcuffs, trying to tell their story when the world is turning a left eye and a blind ear to them and their story because they have probably harmed somebody in the making. So what I commend Naia is being vulnerable and surviving the mist of her storm. I commend Naia. I respect her story and her vulnerability because a lot of women are Naia. They just suffer in silence and don't tell nobody and put on a strong face as if they are just a strong person. Okay, so let's start there. Okay, Naia really gave us an inside look into who she is and gave us a closer look into why she did the things that she do and why women like her choose to submit themselves to their own detriment, are loyal to their own detriment to a man, where they make a man their god, okay? That they're so caught up in being loyal to a man, where they're more loyal to a man than they are to themselves and to God. Okay, so she talked about how she was raised in her relationship with her mother, how her parents were teen parents, how she never had a real relationship with her father, how she always felt rejected. She always felt like she wasn't good enough from her father. She was also a tomboy, quirky girl who stayed to herself and real quiet and, didn't really, catch a lot of eyes, right? She didn't get a lot of attention growing up from either her parents or her peers. And she also admitted at the age of 19 that she was sexually assaulted by somebody that she knew, that she thought she could trust. And what's so crazy about that story is after the person sexually assaulted her, she wanted to keep in that trauma so bad. She kept it in. She stayed at the house right after the assault. She stayed in the same house as her abuser, as she described it. She stayed in the same house, and then 3 weeks later, she met Derrick Jaxn. Mind you, she did not tell anybody for years about what has happened to her. Let's just pause. Let's think about it. A woman that's 19, her frontal lobe is not fully developed. She don't really know herself. She don't know her body. She don't know who she is. She has childhood trauma. She has a how do you say it? A conception about her father and the rejection of her father and the abandonment of her father, because her father not only rejected her and was inconsistent with his relationship with her, he also died when she was 13 years old. So she really was just left with all these feelings and not know how to deal with them. She was left unprotected. And then Derrick comes in and they click and they, you think like you're bonding with this person and you're clicking so hard and y'all are so obsessed with each other. But at the end of the day, this sounds like a trauma bond. That's why she was so attached to him so quickly, because she was able to grasp on to the one thing that made her happy in life after losing her father, being rejected and abandoned, and then sexually assaulted by somebody that she knew. She held on to Derrick Jaxn as in trauma bond. But Derrick Jaxn, one thing that he always did was show her who he was. And she never strayed away from that. She didn't say that, oh, woe is me. No, she said I was a willing participant, and I wouldn't even call it a real relationship. For 9 years of my life before we got married, I knew he was cheating. I wasn't even his girlfriend. I was just some girl that he messed with, and I allowed him to continue to treat me the way he treated me, thinking that I was going to one day win him over. She also had experienced 3 abortions within those 9 years before they got married, and then got pregnant again and said she couldn't go through with it again. First of all, let's take a deep dive into a deep look into the psychological aspect. For a woman to go through an abortion 3 different times, that right there just tells you the mental state of her mind. Getting an abortion is not a 1, 2, 3 easy peasy thing. It's not like having your period and moving on. It's a very, very traumatic experience. Those who have lost a baby probably know that process and what that looks like. People who've never been through it, is not a beautiful process, losing a child, regardless of abortion or through miscarriage. Okay, so to go through something like that 3 different times was traumatic within itself that she has never dealt with. That's why people like Krishan Rock end up keeping her baby with Blue. And you know who was a Naia? Krishan Rock. This is why it's so important for Naia to tell her story without judgment, to tell her story without people ridiculing her and discouraging her and trying to hold her feet to the fire of why you stay too long. I don't give a damn how long she stays. She's here, she's alive, and she's able to tell her story to talk to young girls like Krishan Rock, who may be following in certain footsteps and not listening to her village and saying that why is her village not da 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 da. Sometime when you have a village and you have a hard head and you're an unconscious woman and you're packing around all this trauma and pain and you're in denial about a lot of things and you're not listening to anybody, it's hard when people try to help you. You know it. You may have somebody in your life right now, or it may be you, where you've had a friend, you had a sister, you had a cousin, you had your mother tell you about this person and how they're not good for you, but you didn't want to listen to them. You wanted to learn the hard way. You wanted to give it a chance. You wanted to see if it was going to work out. You wanted to see if that man was going to change for you. You wanted to see if everything was going to be this fairy tale that you always dreamed of. And you thought that as soon as you walked down the aisle with that man chose you, he's going to act right. Because if he chose you, he's going to act right. If he chose you and marry you, he's going to be the man that you wanted him to be, because he's going to be scared to lose you. And it is far from the truth. And Naia is the first-hand witness to that. And if you don't learn one thing, learn from Naia. Learn from her mistakes. Learn from women like that mistakes, because women like that are not usually able to be heard. Because like I said, they're either 6 feet under or they're behind bars telling other inmates about their stories. In the world, their story falls on deaf ears because they are behind bars and their story is not being told. Because people do not have empathy for those who commit crimes. But she was able to get out on time. Thank God, hallelujah, that God saved her. That's how merciful and loving God is. Through all the mistakes that she made, through all the abortions, through all of her not listening to God and not listening to the signs, not listening to the ones who love her and tried to protect her, and all the times that God tried to step in and protect her and stray her away from this man, and she ran from God and she kept running from him and running from him and running from until she crashed into the wall and almost mentally lost herself, if not already lost herself in the midst. But the one thing that's so beautiful about God is that you may crash into that wall and bump your head and fall and get dizzy and lost, and God will still put his hand down and grab you and pull you up out of your mess, because that's how amazing God and his grace and his love is. That's why I'm so thankful that God is who God is and not human, because humans, we're flawed, we're judgmental, we easily judge each other, we have harsh criticism for each other. We don't have the love, we don't have the capability and the love and the compassion to see outside of ourselves and to another person's life and have that same compassion. I think that's why I'm so compassionate, because I have the gift to look outside of myself. To look outside of myself and have empathy. Nobody is excusing her behavior. She's not even excusing her behavior. She's getting up there taking full accountability of why she stayed, trying to understand the why, and then admit that she was not the victim and what she submitted herself to, but what type of man she got involved with and what type of woman she was to get involved with a man like that. That's what that story was about. That's what that interview was about. And that's what a lot of these commentators are missing. That's what's so beautiful about this YouTube channel, this commentary, is that we're looking at it from a different perspective. We're not having a pity party for Naia. We're not trying to excuse Naia's behavior, but we can understand it from a psychological standpoint that Naia is not alone, and there's been many women like Naia, and we respect that she's able to tell her story and still be alive to tell it. That's what we respect. And that's why I have so much passion when I talk about it. And one day, yes, I would love to interview Naia. I would love to talk to her, but I think that it was so respectfully done on this platform. And God set it up that way. And to give this woman a platform where this man took great care of her and brought her in person and spoke to her, where she was able to feel safe, sanctified, and blessed and led by God. Now, she let us get an insight of who Derrick really was. Okay, because I used to listen to Derrick when I was in a broken place. Derrick is obviously a broken man with some form of a sex addiction. This man had women in rotation. Okay, I'm going to play a clip of Naia talking about how she was willingly playing a part and being a part of his rotation.
Anyway, we were still engaging sexually, even though we were off, right? And so it was in this time where there was a lineup of us. We was passing each other on the stairway in and out.
No, y'all wasn't. No, y'all was not passing
You think this is a game.
You were not passing each other on the stairway. No, y'all wasn't.
We were passing each other on the stairway. Like, this is my shift from this time to this time. So, I was a willing participant in that. And this is, like, I can laugh about it now, but it's really sad, to, like, what space do you have to be in to accept that? And so I dealt with it already, so I could laugh about it now. And it's funny,
that's what healing
but it's
look like. Healing,
right?
You look back at your old self and laugh.
I'm just like, what? But yeah, no, seriously. It was, I'm coming over at this time. I know such and such is going to be rolling through about, an hour and a half later. Yeah. And sometimes we went a little bit longer. So literally passing each other on the stairs, like out the door. All right, have fun, your shift.
She even admitted how she played a part and she thought that this was an end game. And you know what's so crazy about a lot of these manosphere men? They tell women to fight for their men. They tell women to compete. If you want your man, you got to put up with it. If you want a high value man that's paying all the bills and doing all this stuff, you take care of his children and you shut up and be quiet. But obviously that just shows you that's not a good place to be. That's not a peaceful place to be, is to deal with a man who is involved with other women. It just goes to show you, no matter how much you put up with, no matter how silent you stay, no matter how much you try to keep in, it is not meant for you to continue on in that type of lifestyle and think that you are going to not have demonic attacks. She talked about how she was demonically attacked, spiritually attacked. I know firsthand when I've dealt with men in my past that I knew that were probably dealing with other women. And I think that I even at one point tried to turn a blind eye, and God kept saying, no, I'm going to keep sending these women to you. I'm going to keep sending these women to you. I'm going to keep showing you the type of women. I'm going to put it in your face so hard where you can't freaking breathe, because I'm trying to get your attention that this is not the man that I have called you to be with. And if you don't listen to me, you're going to end up behind bars, in jail, or in the grave. Or you can overcome this and let me lead you the way I've been trying to lead you. Some of the litter stray away. That's one thing that I know they talked about it at church, where we're all like God's sheeps, right? And he's the shepherd. And sometimes a sheep can stray away from the herd, and God will leave the herd to go find that one sheep because you're that special. Don't ever think that you're not special. Don't ever think you're too messed up for God. Don't ever think that you sin too much to not even talk to God. Because I remember that I would sin and I've strayed away so far from God, I was too ashamed to even talk to him. I felt like every time I talked to God, I had to keep apologizing about all the things that I wasn't doing in his name, all the things that I wasn't doing in him. I felt a sense of shame where I wasn't even able to pray my way out of certain things because I just had this shame of wall. God knows you and he loves you regardless of how far you stray away. You don't have to be perfect. That's why he sent, if you are a Christian, he sent his son to forgive us for our sins for a reason. He forgives us for a reason. He has grace and love and empathy for a reason. Something that we don't even have for each other or ourselves. So Naia described who Derrick was. Derrick was describing himself this whole time. He was talking about what type of man he was the whole time. He used and manipulated, and I think downright is a sociopath, okay? And then he got that woman, first of all, he got her on camera. Mind you, everyone made fun of her helmet of salvation, but that was her only protection of not jumping off the bridge, not ending her life. She was pregnant at that time. She wasn't feeling good. She was mentally drained. She was spiritually broken. I said all of this in my previous video. I said all of this in my other previous videos about her. She was spiritually broken. And she even asked why, because she had abandonment issues. And she also had a fear of rejection. Those are things that I have also dealt with growing up, because I also too lost a parent. So I know exactly where she is coming from, although I've never been that deep in it, but it could have been me. And those same people that's like, I could never. You better be glad you could never. Because God only put his strongest people through the hardest things. And I love how she took accountability without blaming Derrick. She just only told her truth. To sit here and say she's blaming Derrick for everything, no, she just told her truth. And whatever you take from that truth is what it is. That's who Derrick was. He was always a cheater. So if you marry a cheater, he's not going to change because he put a ring on your finger. If anything, he's going to get even more like, why would you think I would stop? I showed you how I was going to always treat you. If I always treated you like this, what is a ring going to do? What is a ring gonna really do about it? Nothing. She even said once she got the ring, she was like, "Ooh, I got the ring. I got the title. I got the ring. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty." Yes, I won from all those women. But those women were the real winners. Those women that walked away or got rejected at that time and didn't have to deal with him anymore were the real winners, because they didn't have to keep dealing with the anguish that this man was going to continue to bring on this woman. All those women that were willingly participating were a Naia. Naia just got chose out of all of them because she was the one that got pregnant and then started twisting his arm and telling him, "I'm going to take the kids and leave." He didn't want to marry. He didn't want to get married. He wanted to do the right thing because it looked good, and he didn't want to be away from his children. He didn't want to be separated from his child. He continued to make babies with her and continued to cheat and allegedly make a baby with somebody else. And who knows how many other women. Could you imagine keeping that inside? Keeping your sexual assault trauma inside? Keeping inside all the trauma that this man has put you through, all the women's bodies? She says she knew women's bodies better than she knew her own. I'll play that for you.
What did that do to you?
I became a shell of myself. I didn't know who I was. I actually have a couple posts on my page where it's like, I have a post that says, "I knew her body better than I knew my own."
Stop. Let that sit there. You said you knew another woman's body better than you knew your own.
Yes, several women. I knew several other women's bodies better than I knew my own. And I spent a lot of time, like I went in such a deep hole where I was like studying these women. I would go to their profiles and I would study their pages and like what they wear. I knew when they had met up. So I watched their videos of them having sex. So I would try to imitate that and recreate that in our relationships so that he could choose me and want me. And that is a low point to be. And I'm tearing up a little bit because I hate that I even got to a point where that was a thing, but that it was just that. And so I knew several other women's bodies better than I knew my own. I completely lost myself. I became a shell of myself. I tried to imitate their hair, their actions, even sexual things that I had seen him doing with them. I tried to recreate that in our life when we were engaged, and none of it amounted to anything. And so I just became more like depressed, more withdrawn, because it's like, I can't share this with him because then he's going to leave, right? Because I'm still operating off of that abandonment and all of that. And so it's so crushing. And there's not really words to put like what happens to you when you see that. And you don't just see it one time, but you see it multiple times, and you see it multiple times over years. What that does. And then you compound onto that rape trauma. You compound onto that daddy issue. Like, there's no way for anybody to survive that mentally and emotionally without God like intervening in some way to literally pluck that out of you. It's so crushing. There's no breath in my body.
What brought you back?
She says she knew other women's bodies better than she knew her own. How many women have stalked the new woman's page or the man's ex page or the woman that he cheated on you with page when you found out how she looked? A lot of women actually do this. They done moved on, their ex done moved on, but you somehow still looking at their photos together, their vacation photos, their wedding photos. You're looking at all of that. So don't act like you're too good to, I never. But you have done that. You have taken screenshots of him and his new woman and sent it to your friends. You have done that. and made fun of, oh, what did he see in her? Like, look how she looked. Da, 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 he died, da, 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 trying to observe this man's new relationship. So don't act like you ain't been that girl, because you definitely been that girl. You may not have been that girl that watched sex videos, because, man, what kind of trauma is that? To watch the man that you love and thought that you won, your husband, having intimacy and pleasing. Think about the psychology behind that. Pleasing other women. Watching their body react to his body parts pleasing them. And becoming obsessed with it. Becoming obsessed with it because she wanted to keep her man. She wanted to do whatever she needed to do to keep her man. That's why she did that. Because she wanted to keep her man. She wanted to keep her marriage. She wanted to keep thinking that she won. Because she got a ring. What's a marriage when it's just a title and not an actual marriage and commitment and love and dedication and trust? It's none of that. It doesn't matter about the title when you're not being respected as a wife. And other women get to laugh and giggle behind your back about you. Or don't even know you. That man don't even claim you. You had to force him to claim you. You had to force this man to claim you. This man is a narcissist. I mean, he is like textbook narcissist. Or narcissist. I can never say that word right. But I will say this. I love how she wrapped it up and said she's in a much better place. And I love that. I'm going to play this clip because out of all this trauma, and I can feel her on this, I went to therapy. I went to friends. I went to family. But nothing can heal me the way God could heal me. Nothing can lift that pain other than than God lifting that pain. That fear that I wouldn't let go. All I had to do was let go and cast all my cares upon him, and he deals with my pain. Sometimes you're trying to hold on to things that's too much for you. You're supposed to let it go and give it to God. Give it to him. Let him handle it. Don't check back on it. Let him handle it, and just know and feel and believe that it's all going to work out. Like, I'm not even going to worry about this anymore. I know he's going to handle it, because when I handle it, I mess it up every time. So I'm going to let him handle it. And look at her now.
From there, I started journaling to the Holy Spirit and giving him all the details. And this is where the Lord began to speak to me like, hey, you need to write out all these things that you've seen, that you've been trying to tell such and such. You've been trying to tell that you've been telling the therapist, you've been telling all of them. That's great, but they can't take the pain that is in your soul. They can't take that out of you.
Yeah.
Only I can take that out of you. And so I began to do that. And then I have literally notebooks of the trauma and the pain and the videos, like the details and all of that I have seen, all of it, of giving that to the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, I invite you into this. I'm giving you the details of this, down to like the tattoo, the mole, this, like all the details. I'm giving you all of that.
What tattoo?
I'm saying like of what I've seen, of the women, of the people.
Seeing everybody's body parts.
Right.
How does that feel? I want to spend a little time on that, because that's some serious trauma. When it happens the first time, like I said, I've been in environments where I've walked in and seen stuff that I didn't want to see. So what?
She was trying to find healing in God, and that man had to divorce her. That wasn't just him. That was God telling him, divorce her. He allowed women to come into this man's life because Naia was not going to let him go. She was going to fight for her marriage. She was going to fight for something that was already lost and doomed to begin with in the beginning. And this just goes to show, ladies, if you're in a situationship with a guy, don't think that it's all suddenly going to magically, work out. Or as time goes on and you bring a baby into the situation, it's going to get better. Or he finally picks you and marry you, it's going to get better. It's not. It's not. And I think we've seen this over and over and over and over and over again, how this plays out many times, many different women and different situations. I'm just glad that Naia is here to tell her story and not 6 feet under. I pray for her. I pray that she continues to heal. I pray that you continue to heal whatever you're going through listening to this. You know, because life is a journey. It's not supposed to be easy. We're not supposed to be perfect. But he's always going to remind us where we're supposed to be headed and our purpose. Even when we get off path. Even when we stray away. And I love how she ended it to say that she gave all of her cares to God. She gave all of her cares to God, and he was the one able to heal her and move on and survive and be a mother the way she needed to be a mother. I love that for her. I love this interview. I'm proud that she was able to finally tell her story, because people made fun of her and made her the butt of the jokes about her hair, the way she was dressed, the way she looked, when she really was on survival mode. She really was on the verge of offing herself or doing something worse. And she was able to survive that. I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts below. And one thing I do want to say before I wrap up is that I love how she said that she was a unconscious woman. Shout out to R.C. Blakes. R.C. Blakes literally said that you would have to be an unconscious woman to deal with a man like that and to put up with the things that she put up with. Because a lot of people don't understand why. A lot of women like that lack conscience. She has soul ties. She trauma bonded. And it was hard to break loose. And if anybody know, if you've been soul tied to a man, you know how hard it is to leave. You know how hard it is to get rid of that trauma bond relationship and walk away from it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts about Naia, her story. How did you feel? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you agree, comment below. If you disagree, comment below. I would love to hear all perspectives. Thank you guys for watching so much. Until next time, bye.